kind of a little secret hack is that TikTok is a really great place to liquidate inventory. Now, I don't like to liquidate for the sake of, just blowing inventory out. I want to use that inventory to build momentum for an existing listing or something like that. But let's say that I have, a product that I invested heavily in for Q4 and it didn't take on Amazon or D2C or any of my other platforms.
Welcome to the Ecomm Breakthrough Podcast. Are you ready to unlock the full potential and growth in your business? You've already crossed 7 figures in sales, but the challenge is knowing how to take your business to the next level.
What if your next 7-figure product launch did not come from Amazon, but from TikTok Shop? Today's guest is going to show us how to make that happen. Welcome to the Ecomm Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Hadley. I scaled my own brand from 0 to 8 figures in sales, and now my mission is to take it to over 9 figures in sales. On my journey to 9 figures, I bring you unfiltered conversations with some of the smartest minds in e-commerce. Past guests include Kevin King, Ezra Firestone, and Michael E. Gerber, author of The E-Myth. Today on the Ecomm Breakthrough Podcast, I'm thrilled to welcome a true expert in the world of social commerce, Michelle Barnum Smith. Michelle is the founder of TT Shop Sellers and one of the leading voices when it comes to helping e-commerce brands unlock the massive potential of TikTok Shop. With years of marketing experience under her belt and a track record of guiding sellers through the ever-changing world of online retail, Michelle has become a go-to strategist for e-com sellers looking to diversify their revenue, scale to new channels, and build sustainable growth strategies. With that introduction, welcome to the show, Michelle.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Michelle, it's an honor to have you on the show. I know we crossed paths at many, many events, and so you are well known in the e-commerce space as the go-to TikTok Shop expert. And so I'm grateful to have you on the show today. And Michelle, I want to dive straight into this thing and say, what is going on in the world of TikTok Shop? We're into a brand new year here, and TikTok Shop has been evolving very quickly. It's only been around for just a few short years, but man, it has changed dramatically over those short years. So, Michelle, I think the big question on everybody's mind is like, what's working on TikTok Shop today? And if I'm an e-commerce seller, how do I actually have success there?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we've just had a massive Q4 and TikTok Shop proves yet again that they are a player in this space, not just another marketplace, but a definer of marketplaces and a beneficiary of all marketplaces. I don't think that TikTok truly competes with anybody. I think that they complement everyone because they're top of funnel. And from a marketing perspective, what can be better for sellers than to actually be able to have a platform in which they can quickly build their brand and have multiple ways to benefit from that brand building, whether that's Amazon, their own D2C, or of course TikTok Shop as well. So TikTok, is a great equal opportunity platform no matter where a seller sells through.
I love it. And I couldn't agree more. I think it is very different. I don't think it's necessarily competing with Amazon. It's not competing with Walmart. Like, it is its own beast. And as you mentioned, I think it's one of the best ways to just create brand awareness there's never been an arbitrage opportunity like there is now. Maybe if you were to go back to the Facebook ad days of the early 2000s and 2010s, that's when Facebook ads were cheap and there was a good arbitrage opportunity there to get a lot of exposure, relatively cheap cost. That's back, but it's in the form of TikTok Shop right now. Michelle, talk to me about, there's been a number of sellers that have experimented on the platform and they're like, oh, I haven't been able to figure it out for my brand. I think most sellers at this point have probably tried to dip their toe in the water. They've either done it themselves or they've even gone with an agency and they're like, yeah, the agency did nothing. I just lost a lot of money. I hear that story probably more often than I hear people, oh, I'm just absolutely crushing it and making a crap load of money on TikTok Shop. What's been your experience? What are you hearing from sellers? Are they winning? Are they losing? And why?
Yeah. So there's a variety of results that people are getting, right? And I think especially when sellers are approaching TikTok from an expansion standpoint, they're treating it like any other expansion strategy, whether that's, cross, uh, cross channel in the form of like you're on Amazon.com and now you want to be on .ca or .uk or whatever it might be, or you're thinking about it from an additional marketplace perspective, like you're on Amazon, but now you're expanding to Walmart or you're expanding to, Etsy or eBay or one of the other platforms. It is not the same. It is not the same kind of marketplace expansion strategy that you apply to any other search-based marketplace, right? That's the difference, is that TikTok Shop is not a bottom of funnel. Somebody's already aware that they have a need and they're searching for a solution. TikTok is a social platform first. It's an entertainment destination for people. And sellers that I see struggling with TikTok Shop, what they're struggling with is a combination of understanding how to sell on the platform in a way that's efficient. So kind of the first thing that if I'm helping sellers diagnose a problem is sometimes the problem is your baby's ugly, guys. Like sometimes your product is not right for the platform. Now, I know that there are some sellers that believe that any product is right for TikTok Shop, but I will tell you that is not the case. That is not true, just because of how the platform functions straight out the gate. Because it's a top of funnel platform and people are on the platform for entertainment, not for purchasing, not for buying. When somebody opens TikTok, and there's all sorts of data to prove this, the reason that they're on the platform in the first place is because they have a moment in time that they are trying to fill. They're in line at the grocery store. They're waiting at a stoplight. They are, checking out at their son's soccer game, like whatever it means, whatever it looks like. They're there to scroll. They're not necessarily there to buy. Now, because once again, if they knew that they wanted to buy something, where would they be? Where would they be, Josh?
They would be on Amazon.
Right, exactly. So we have to stay connected to the reason why people are on the platform in the first place, which is that entertainment, mentally taking a break purpose, right? And creating content and focusing on content creation that is relevant and connects with the why that somebody's on the platform. I'm not saying that you have to create a whole bunch of like crazy entertainment based content or anything like that, but you have to remember why somebody's on the platform in the first place, because it's not to buy. It's not to buy. And so what happens is that a lot of sellers, when they're getting started on TikTok, they'll bring over their entire product catalog. I will not tell you how many times I've talked to sellers of every shape and size, and everything that they have to offer on Amazon or on D2C, they are selling on TikTok Shop. And I think there's a huge disconnect between like the reality of how people actually shop on the platform and how somebody goes about actually buying something on the platform. 90% of the time, I will say even up to 99% of the time, somebody is buying because they have seen a video. That is the main discovery mechanism. And so when you have sellers who are bringing over their entire catalog, they're basically like dispersing their energy, right? Like if you want momentum for your listings and you're recruiting affiliates and things like that, and you're like the creepy watch salesman on the corner that's like, what you want? I got everything for you, and you're telling, affiliates or content creators or whatever to, pick something up from our vast catalog. Like you're not creating focus for what customers need to be and creators need to be focusing on. When I tell sellers, and I'm like, listen, every listing that you have up here, no one's going to buy anything unless you have minimum 500 pieces of content and you're running ads for at least 3 months minimum to get started. Are you going to do that for every single one of your listings? And you see kind of like the lights turn on. They're like, holy crap. No. Right. And I'm like, okay, let's create some focus. What is the right product strategy to actually go to market with? And sometimes TikTok is like, hey, when they are teaching sellers to onboard, they're like, yeah, just bring over your whole catalog. But they're doing a disservice to sellers by telling them that, hey, just connect your Amazon account to TikTok, or connect your Shopify account to TikTok. It's a huge disservice, because really there needs to be product strategy first and foremost, and making sure that you're creating focus and that you have the right product that you're focusing on in the first place.
I love it. So, Michelle, let's say you've got an Amazon seller that has 100 different products in their catalog right now, and they're hearing you and they're like, okay, so how do I decide what are my top, like, is it just one? Are you saying focus on one? Would you bring over three? And then I love that you had kind of like metrics of like, are you willing to put ad spend behind this for 3 months? And how many samples should I allocate, and et cetera? Why don't you walk me through kind of your recommendations for that seller?
Yeah. So I have these conversations all the time where like they do have 100 products, sometimes 1,000 products. And that, that might include variations, right? So I had this conversation with a seller last week, and my recommendations first and foremost is identifying your most TikTokable products. Like, what of your products here meet the best kind of TikTokability requirements? In the case of this seller, they had some sheets, they had some bedding, like beds in the bag, they had kitchen curtains, and they had chair cushions, like kitchen table chair cushions. And I'm like, no, like nobody is on TikTok to buy kitchen fashion. We'll say that. Like the chair cushions are an absolute like no, like from a demonstrability standpoint. Yeah, like okay. So my 5 filters of TikTokability. Number 1 is demonstrability. Can it easily be demonstrated? Yes. Can you plop down kitchen cushions on a chair? Sure. Yes. Can you show the different designs and all of those things? Yeah, absolutely. So demonstrability, check. Does it have unique features? Sure. You can be talking about like, the memory foam and the waterproofing and the different colors and different styles. Number 3, does it serve a passionate niche? No. So like somebody who's really interested in kitchen cushions, probably not the case. Number 5, does it solve a problem? Kitchen cushions, possibly. Yes. But mostly it's home fashion, right? And it's a specific look and feel and specific design. And then the 5th filter is impulse buying. Is it priced in that $30 to $50 range? Each one of these cushions, I think, was $30 in and of itself. So a whole set was, upwards of over $100, depending on the, size and style. So it's really kind of making sure that your products, that there is that TikTokability kind of nature. I would argue that people are not on the platform to buy kitchen cushions, right? Now, they did have some really interesting seasonal products that lent itself to kind of like, like in the case of the sheets, they had some cooling sheets, but they also had some flannel sheets, which, were in the winter months. There's like, it solves that strong need, that strong problem right now. People are cold when they go to sleep, those types of things. But their price point on the sheets was more premium. And once again, people are there to impulse buy. You get to a certain point where people are going to shop it, right? They're like, well, do I need these flannel sheets, or do I want to go to Amazon and see all the flannel sheets, right? We don't want that to happen. We do want that to happen because we love halo effect, but we don't want them to shop us in such like a, competitive, super competitive categories. So the first thing is identifying the right product and the right product strategy to go to market with. At the end of the day, we selected their beds in a bag, as like the most kind of TikTokable product. It had a good price point and had some unique designs that, had some seasonality that we could capitalize on. I will say, Josh, though, kind of a little secret hack is that TikTok is a really great place to liquidate inventory. Now, I don't like to liquidate for the sake of, just blowing inventory out. I want to use that inventory to build momentum for an existing listing or something like that. But let's say that I have, a product that I invested heavily in for Q4 and it didn't take on Amazon or D2C or any of my other platforms. TikTok can be a great place to blow that inventory out and to use kind of liquidation strategies And we did this last Q1 for some of my sellers. And not only did it go crazy, absolutely nuts, because, we're being aggressive in our pricing. It's a low risk for us, we're not trying to make this profitable. We're just trying to like blow out some inventory, reduce storage fees, all of those various kind of things. But because we had it as a variant for a longer lasting ASIN or listing, for lack of a better term, it was able to build momentum for the overall listing. And we were able to like incrementally raise the price and start running ads to it in such a way that, lo and behold, it became a TikTok only product. Like, it was selling so well that once we were able to kind of like bring down the storage fees on Amazon, we were able to get product into FBT. We flipped it. It became a profitable product. And we were able to not only resurrect that product, but then build variants on top of it that also could, benefit from that kind of long-term use of the content. It's kind of a mad world, TikTok, from that perspective.
Interesting. I love that. I love the inventory liquidation opportunity there. So walk me through that. Like, so what does that mean? You had this stale product that had been sitting on the shelves of Amazon for a long time. What was your strategy? Did you already have a lot of existing affiliates? You reached out to them, hey, who wants this product? And then did you have just like a dirt bottom price on it where you were fine even just like breaking even on the seller fees and whatnot on TikTok shop? Walk me through, like, how did that actually work to where it gained enough momentum to where you're like, actually, this can stay around?
Yeah, we already had a best-selling listing on TikTok. And as you know, one of the easiest things to do is to give your affiliates something new to talk about, right? And so if we're rolling in and being like, hey, we have this really great product that we're going to do some really aggressive pricing on, and let's go, and obviously got the product in their hands, and had just like a lot of content being created around that. At the same time, TikTok usually in Q1 has some big liquidation style campaigns. I think this year, like there's always something that's going on in January that's liquidation oriented. But there's always seasonal events coming up that have liquidation campaign opportunities as well. But so in conjunction with that liquidation campaign, we also had just like a ton of affiliates. We ran ads to that content. Price point, the seller that we worked with, they determined the price. I think they were just like, hey, we just want to break even. We don't want to, we don't necessarily want to lose money, but we don't care about making money, that kind of a thing, just covering the relative costs of both the product and the storage fees and the cost of it being on TikTok, but they weren't trying to make money off of it. And as you know, sometimes it's just like one video, 2 videos, 3 videos, and it kind of creates this affiliate snowball effect. So it also, if sellers aren't aware, what happens sometimes on TikTok, creators are quickly kind of figure out what's selling on TikTok, and if it's relevant to who they are as a creator and their audience, because they're just marketing channels, right? They have their followers, they want to keep their followers engaged and happy and all of these things. And so if they have products, especially good deals, that are relevant to their followers, they're all about creating content for it. And so if you have a few videos start to pop off, you're going to have what's called the affiliate snowball effect happen, where creators are going to see, hey, this product is starting to pop off. And all of a sudden you'll get just like a crap ton of sample requests come in. So much so that you don't have to be doing a lot of outreach. They'll come to you, right? That's a really ideal kind of scenario. And then you can kind of pick the cream of the crop to work with and recruit for future engagements, for future purposes. And then obviously that content, you can run ads to it in perpetuity. So that's a beautiful thing, a beautiful part of that whole kind of flywheel effect of TikTok Shop. So yeah, that was basically the process in a nutshell. It was identifying, there's the hero product strategy, and then there's the anti-hero product strategy, i.e., liquidation.
Yeah.
But what I don't want sellers to do is liquidate a listing that doesn't have long-term opportunity on the platform. So sometimes what happens is people will have seasonal products, and we had a brand this last Q4 that had tons of seasonal. They were a candy seller, and they had tons of seasonal, like, snowflakes and Santa Clauses and reindeer and, little marshmallows and chocolate candies and all those things. And it was like, if we're going to sell those products, we are going to put it on a listing that has long-term opportunity, where that, like, this is just a variation of an existing product that has long-term potential. Because what I don't want to do is try to build momentum and build interest in a product that is just going to die, that we're just going to kill that listing, that we can't resurrect later on in the year or whatever, like that this listing is just a like a flush in the toilet listing. Like, we don't want that. We want that energy that we build for that seasonal or for that liquidation product to be able to benefit a listing for the long term. So if you're thinking about a liquidation event, how can that be combined? How can that product be combined with other relevant products that are in your catalog for long-term benefit?
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a really important fact to point out, because I know you and I talked earlier this year, and that was the feedback that you gave to me. Previously on Amazon, we would set up a lot of our products to be like standalone products, right? Because we want to occupy as much of that search page as possible,
Yes,
which means
yes.
less variations. But on TikTok Shop, it's the exact opposite. You want kind of like more variations, because
Yes.
like when the variations are together, the sales accumulate to one another, creates that social effect, right? And more affiliates see, oh, they're doing well with this. And if you ever go out of stock with one of those variations, you have other variations. So like you're never technically out of stock.
Yes,
Per se.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
those videos keep living on.
Right.
So
That's one of the number one mistakes that I see sellers make when they are onboarding. So if we can back up to one of your questions was like, what are sellers doing wrong? Like, hey, they're on the platform, but it's not working for them. There's so many reasons why it's not working for them. And sometimes it comes down to how they set up their listing, right? Like, I will look at somebody's product catalog, and they have their, like, my father-in-law says this, they have their listings spread out from hell to breakfast. Like, so back to the bed in the bag guy, one of the first conversations we had was listing consolidation. I'm like, look at all these bed in the bag listings you have. Like, why? Why are those separated? Is there a reason why you have those separated? And like you said, on Amazon, we are trying to maximize real estate, but on TikTok Shop, we're trying to maximize attention. While we have somebody's attention for microseconds, they've seen a video, they've clicked through to the product detail page. What are their options, right? How can we maximize that exposure so that we can, capture that sale, but also maybe increase our average order value in the same kind of breadth? So consolidation of listings is really critical. I will also say a secret hack here is to consolidate based on ICP. So ideal customer profile, what are your products, the problems your products are trying to solve, right? I have a seller who sells phonics flashcards. He sells all sorts of like educational products. And and so when he's doing his listing setup and his product development, he's like, okay, well, here's some of these other flashcards. We got ABC flashcards, and we've got 1, 2, 3 flashcards, and we got all these other flashcards. I'm like, okay, cool. But let's remember our ICP. Who is ICP for these flashcards? Okay, it's moms with like younger children, or children that are just trying to teach to read. Right? That's the pain point that we're trying to solve. This is a marketing problem, right? Well, he has other phonics products. They're not flashcards. He has like a learning game. He has like a bingo type thing. He has like a learning pad as well. And I'm like, what if you created the ultimate phonics bundle as a variant, or bundles as a variant to the flashcards? Because the problem that the mom is there to solve is teaching her kids to read. She doesn't care if it's just flashcards that help her to do that. And so if you lured her in with the flashcards, let's show her also, okay, well, you're here for the flashcards, but look at all these other sexy phonics toys. Can we say sexy phonics? But look at our the ultimate phonics bundle. And you can create varieties of bundles as it's associated with that. And before you ask, one of the questions that I ask sellers when they are talking about, when we're talking about product strategy, is fulfillment. How are you fulfilling your products? Is it you're doing an Amazon MCF? Do you have a 3PL? Are you doing FBT? Are you an AWD? I never knew there were so many 3-letter acronyms related to fulfillment in this space, right? But how somebody fulfills absolutely can affect their product strategy, right? Because if you're having to do these bundles, and as we know on Amazon, like we can do virtual bundles. TikTok, we can do virtual bundles, but you can't add them as variants yet. You can't do combined, like there's just all these things that kind of like affect your ability to create some of these bundles in TikTok. I'll say never fear though, if you're using your Amazon inventory, you can create, whatever tool you're using, like whether it's WebB, Shopdance, some of these tools that I love, you can create essentially a SKU in TikTok Shop that is for that bundle that you can then essentially merge in the back end and say, this SKU over here are these ASINs from Amazon. Go, kind of a thing. And it will pull from it and create the MCF orders specifically for that. Now, you do need to just be aware of the MCF fees associated with that, each one of those picks. So if you're going to create a bundle, just be aware of the costs in doing so. But that's where you get into pricing and just being aware. So product strategy is really critical, Josh. And I think people get on the platform with TikTok Shop and just start doing random acts of sampling and just dispersing their entire catalog all over the place when they really need to have that product focus and that listing optimization first. I mean, every time I speak at an event, I ask sellers, I'm like, would you ever direct traffic to an unoptimized listing? How many of you, like, that's your jam? No one, crickets, always, right? That's basic. And yet they're doing that on TikTok Shop because they forget, they're just like so disoriented. They're like, well, I just brought over all my listings. Is that what they said? That's what I'm supposed to do. And I'm like, no. You don't listen to TikTok Shop. Don't listen to what they tell you and how to do it. You need to think about how to maximize, like create that product strategy. And then you also need to optimize your pricing strategy for TikTok Shop. Can we talk about that next?
Let's talk about that. I want to talk about all things listing optimization on TikTok Shop because there's very few kind of like details about that, right? We all know like the title on Amazon, the bullet points, the description, but I'd be curious to hear from you, Michelle, like what should my title be on TikTok? Is there any magic of actually follow this type of process for your title on TikTok Shop, follow this type of process for your description? What do you see working that way? And then obviously pricing is a big component.
Yes, absolutely. So I attended a training recently where TikTok was saying that search is increasing on the platform. In fact, 40% of users on the platform type into the search bar within 30 seconds of getting on the platform. Like, what does that tell us? What does that tell us? What is coming? What is happening? There's a generation that's rising up where they're going, either they're hearing about something out there that's trending, and it might be content related, it might be creator related, those types of things. But like, there's no doubt about it that TikTok they're smart. They're like, hey, yeah, we want to we want to monetize views and those types of things, but we're here to sell product and sell advertising space, and that's where they make their money, right? In fact, let me bring up the stat. So 3 in 5 TikTok Shop users use search, and 1 in 40 use search within the first 30 seconds. So listing optimization, all those kind of practices and principles that we learn on Amazon are really critical. Now, what's really important though is that we don't just bring over our Amazon listings like we do on Amazon. And Amazon's gotten better about this, and sellers have also gotten better about this in not creating titles that are just like a bunch of keyword stuffed, illegible, unreadable garbage. Because you can't do that on TikTok Shop. Like any kind of repetitive keywords will get scraped from your title and those kinds of things. And also the quality, your quality, like TikTok has a product quality, a product listing score for listings. So if your title is keyword stuff like that, you'll get a poor rating on your listing, those types of things. So product details, your title, those are all really critical things to have kind of locked in, but readable at the end of the day. So kind of the key things, nobody really cares about the brand name. I would just leave your brand name out of it and just focus on what are those key kind of selling points about your product? What are those key features, those key differentiators, those keywords themselves? And there's tools that are available in the platform. They're in the analytics area, but that are all about kind of search terms. Now, they're no Helium 10, they're no Jungle Scout, they're, the tools themselves relating to search terms on the platform are really kind of crappy. There are tools, if you go to tiktok.com/inspiration, that will take you to creator search insights, and you can kind of get a feel for what people are searching for on TikTok. And if there's stuff that is relevant to your product, I would definitely bring those in. Something that's like really misunderstood about TikTok Shop is it's high level. Because it's high level in the funnel, people aren't aware of the needs that they have, right? So let's talk about magnesium supplements, for example. On TikTok, on Amazon, somebody's already aware that they're like, maybe they're stressed, maybe they're constipated, maybe they're having sleepless nights, right? And they've already done the research. Maybe they've talked to their doctor, maybe they've gone somewhere to chatted with a friend. And now they're on Amazon searching for a magnesium supplement, right? To help with whatever it might be. On TikTok, that's not the case. They just know that they have the symptoms, right? And so they're going to TikTok to find out, like, their search terms on TikTok are stress relief, are gut health, are, sleeplessness. Like, what are my sleep strategies? What are stress relief strategies? Those kinds of things. So content and keywords there are more top of funnel. So instead of just being magnesium oriented from a keyword perspective, it's more like, what are those search terms that the user is using to help solve their problem, right?
I love that. Yeah, I think it's very different what the search intent is, and I do believe that TikTok is becoming like a search-based platform, just like Amazon is, but for different reasons. Like, I know the way I use TikTok right now is like, if I'm in charge of date night, I'm gonna look up like fun date night ideas in Dallas, right? Like, and it's gonna serve me. And I'm very visual, so I love doing that and seeing like, oh, that looks like a fun activity, right? And so I think that that's the way people need to approach this, is like, oh, so if it's about, if my product is all about sleep, right, and better sleep, that means people are typing in like insomnia, how to deal with insomnia, or how to fall asleep faster, or things like that. And then they're going to be looking for like different like tips or ideas that are walking people through those types of things. So
Yeah.
I love that aspect of it. Are there any like software tools that you would recommend for like optimizing listings with the right keywords at all that you found, or
No,
anything?
because there's nothing that is seasoned to that point. And TikTok from an API perspective isn't making that readily available. But that's why I like tiktok.com/inspiration. Anybody can access it, and you can start to type in some of your search terms that like you feel like are relevant. It's formally, the other way you could get to it is on the app itself. Just going to the search bar and typing in creator search insights. That's another place that you can go. I like it because it can show you like example videos. It can show you also other relevant keywords, and it can show you kind of like what's trending right now that's relevant to that kind of topic. But I wouldn't be overly like nichey. I would probably start broad and then kind of work your way down, as opposed to the opposite direction and being too specific upfront.
So would you, in your title, would you do something like best best product for insomnia type of thing on TikTok, like
No,
because
because you
that's
can't
the
make
search
claims
term.
either.
Okay.
You still got to be careful with claim making of any kind. So like supports, insomnia support, it's all in how you spin it, right?
Yep.
But like, so like non-habit forming, those types of things. So still like in the like I probably wouldn't put that in the title. I would probably put it in your bullet point and product descriptions. If you're doing like a lot of searchable terms. Once again, though, like these are also terms and things that you want to put into your content primarily. So like from a listing optimization standpoint, like be sure to put relevant keywords. Don't make claims of any kind. But what's most critical about listing optimization, Josh, it's not what you're saying, it's what you're showing. So, and specifically around pricing. So, because this is an impulse buying platform, there has to be visual cues to the buyer that they're getting the best possible deal and they're getting it right now and it might be going away, right? And what's different about that than on Amazon, where on Amazon, everybody is you're seeing that grid, you're seeing, you're scrolling through all of your different price points and all the different products that are available. What's different is you have somebody that's on your product detail page and there's all sorts of visual cues to convince them to make that purchase right now. And I tell people the 3 kind of keys to 15-second conversions. That's what I kind of like coined it as. And the number 1 is free shipping. You cannot charge for shipping. You can't. Like Amazon has made it thus. Like buyers expect it. 80% of buyers expect it at this point. Nobody wants to have to pay for shipping. And if they are paying for shipping, gosh, you better like really make it. It better be worth it. Like such a cool product, like out of their minds cool, right? So free shipping is really requisite. The second thing is flash sales. I'm a fan of flash sales, back to back to back, schedule them back to back to back. Not this like, oh, we do them sometimes. And sometimes I run into sellers who are like, oh, we never run sales on our product. And I'm like, you do on TikTok. You do on TikTok. You have to. Like you can't roll in without running sales. Or they build the sales into the retail price. I'm like, well, don't do that because we don't have the visual mechanism that really is the best sale, the best deal, the best price. We need the flash sale has like these countdown timers. It has these like flames. It has these like badges, all these things that make people feel like I got to get this. This is happening right now. And I'm going to miss it if I don't take action right this second. So baseline promotion is free shipping. Second is flash deals. And obviously flash deals change the retail price of the product directly. Okay. And then, which is no different than a lightning deal, like on Amazon, right? This is not rocket science. And yet people are not doing it. You would do that on Amazon. Why are you not doing that on TikTok, right? And then the third thing are customer coupons. Now I will tell you this, just like on Amazon, where when you run a product discount of any kind, that changes the lowest price in the last 30 days, right? So if we're going to get aggressive on pricing, you do so in a coupon, not in your discounts, because you don't want to be locked in. And that includes any kind of TikTok campaigns, because TikTok campaigns are going to have their own requirements, like the lowest price in the last X number of days, those kinds of things. So it's really critical that if I had a seller the other day who he's like, oh, well, I just want to blow out some inventory. And so I put it on sale for 45% off. And I'm like, you did not do that. Now you're stuck, man. You're stuck for probably a 60-day period where you can't run any discounts because you're stuck at 45% off. So thankfully we canceled that before they got any sales. But I was just like, don't do that, guys. Don't do that unless you're trying to kill a product.
So the best thing is to like run coupons on there, because I think that's the challenge with the flash sales is like if you run back-to-back flash sales, like it always wants the lowest price in the last 30 days, right? So if you're
Well,
always running a flash sale, are you not just like perpetually like just
so
spiraling
you can have
downward?
the same discount for 30 days. So the
Okay.
lowest discount that you can do on a flash sale is 11% off. So you do that. You do the 11% off for 30 days. And then the next 30 days, you have to do 12% off. And then the next 30 days, you have to do 13% off. Like it kind of builds itself. You can take a break, you can take a breather. But this is especially during like if we're trying to build momentum, that's what we want to do. But I have sellers that's all they do. Like they've been selling for 2 years and they always have flash sales running. They always, do things. Once you build up, but this is where we get a little bit into the opportunities that are on TikTok Shop right now that sellers have available to them that they will probably not have in the future. So once you get to be a big enough seller, you get an account manager. And there's things that you can do with account managers that you cannot do on your own. And one of those is uh, is getting your pricing reset for your periods of time. So especially if it's campaign oriented where they're like, hey, we want the lowest price in the last 60 days or whatever it is, you can get your pricing reset to the price that you want to, but it's a manual process the account manager has to go through.
So if you have an account manager and you're facing that issue, you're like, I can't participate in this deal because of XYZ, and they're asking for too much of a discount. You're saying go to your account manager, they can reset it and get it to the price you need it to be at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's ways around it. If you're doing a good job and selling on TikTok, they'll bend over backwards for you to help you succeed.
I love that. Anything else as it relates to pricing?
Yes. So the coupon. So the coupon itself, once again, like it is on Amazon, if people are used to selling on Amazon, it's why I love it is that sometimes like you get that visual element, but sometimes customers forget to click on it. And like, of course, we want them to get the deal, but sometimes they just don't choose it. And that's not your fault, right? So there you go. And coupons give your creators something to talk about. So if you have like big coupons coming up, those are things that you need to be communicating to your creators and being like, hey, there's a really big deal that we're running or that's coming up or big discount, things like that. That's what we call a kind of bottom of funnel style content that is pricing oriented, that's limited time oriented, like that's like, hey, I don't know if this deal is going to continue to be available. Check the orange shopping cart over here, click through to see if the deal is still live. Like, oh my gosh, you missed it. Like I'm sure people have seen the content where it's like, oh gosh, I feel sorry for all those people who bought it when it was this price because now it's this price and it's so much better now, right? Like that kind of style, content is very bottom of funnel, very scarcity, very like, oh my gosh, I got to get it now because the price is going to go back up, those types of things. It's a real strategy.
Yeah, I love it. Good.
So Josh, do you do any of those things on yours?
Do I do any of those? We do flash sales. We're always on discount. Good listing score. Yeah, those are like the basics, right?
We consider them.
I would like to think so.
Right. But people forget, like, especially if they're coming from Amazon. I'm like, you're already doing these on Amazon. Why wouldn't you be doing these on TikTok? And I think a lot of the question comes down to profit. And people are like, well, where's the money? Like, I'm not going to have any money left, Michelle. And my response to that is like, build it in to the retail price. Like you do not have to match your Amazon price on TikTok Shop. You don't have to match your D2C price on TikTok Shop. Like it can be higher. TikTok doesn't want it to be higher. That's why they have retail price and list price now. I would just have your list price and your retail price match. I wouldn't do your product discounts that way. And I would just get some sales at the higher price point to lock that in. So TikTok is like, all right, this is the list price. So it's, those are some of the functionality that's available now in TikTok that may eventually go away. But if profit is concerned, build it in up front. If you're going to have a standard 15% off, 20% off running, then raise your price 15 to 20%, right? If it costs you, like, know what your fulfillment costs are with MCF. Contact the MCF sales team and negotiate lower rates on your MCF. That you can do that, you know?
Yes, you can. That is true.
Absolutely.
Michelle, now one of the key things that actually drives sales here is working with creators. So what is your recommendation when it comes to finding the right creators? I mean, that's what we've seen. That's probably like our biggest challenge now is we have an unlimited amount of sample requests that come through every week for us. But like not all of those creators create very good content.
Yeah.
So what are you finding, like, especially if somebody's starting new, how do you get like people that will actually create good hooks and get your product out there and actually create a decent video that can generate sales?
So there are so many answers to that one question. So let's back it up just a second and talk about content as a whole. So, like, what's needed to succeed on TikTok is content, not creators, the content, right? Videos. We have to have videos to promote our products. How we get those videos can include working with TikTok shop affiliates, i.e. TikTok creators. That's not the only strategy. There are other strategies for creating content. The brand can create content. Just somebody at the brand can be the face of the brand and create content. I have lots of sellers who are the face of their brand who create content. For a limited time, we have a very short window where AI videos are actually allowed on the platform. TikTok is very quickly trying to put together an AI video policy. There's already content guidelines around AI videos and what's allowed and what's not allowed. There's UGC content that you can go to the likes of Join Brands and other kind of UGC matchmaking services where you're hiring creators to create like probably a number of pieces of content that you can either post on the brand page or you can have the creators themselves post. And then there's obviously TikTok shop affiliates. Lots of ways to kind of accomplish that goal of creating content, but building and creating a content engine really is critical for TikTok shop, and having a commitment to content creation is really critical. For every video, for every listing that you are focusing on, and generally I recommend only between 1 and 3 listings per quarter that you are really focusing on, you're going to probably have to create minimum of like 5 to 10 pieces of content per week per product listing, right? So, and that's minimum. Like there are some people that are saying 10 pieces of content per day. I was just on a webinar with another big expert in the space, and he was like, just post 10 videos per day. And I was like, you just like sent a wave of panic through the room. The sellers are just like, holy crap, how are we supposed to create that much content? And like, well, that's where creators come in. And that's why TikTok has, millions and millions of creators who want to create content for you. Now, to your point, Josh, how do we find the right ones? How do we find the best ones? Those types of things. So it's important to remember that creators are just a channel for you to use to access your ICP, right? Your ideal customer profile. So understanding who your ideal customer is the first step, because TikTok, once again, is just a marketing channel. But what happens so often is sellers roll into the platform and just start like spray and pray, recruiting affiliates like crazy, not really basing it off of anything, who they're working with, why they're working with those people, those kinds of things. So let's go back to the phonics flashcards guy. So his mom, her ICP, her reason is trying to teach her kids to read, right? So as he's looking at his creators to recruit, he has a couple of different strategies to utilize. He can, go and search for creators who are in his selling category. He's in the toys, like the toys and hobbies category. So TikTok is going to be saying, hey, these creators are relevant to you because they are also in your category. Yeah, maybe so. Like that is a strategy, is doing category to category. Like this, they're in my category, I'll work with them. I would always click through to see, are these people mothers? Are there children in their videos? Now, we cannot use minors to sell products. Like minors can appear in videos, but they cannot be talking about or selling, be the primary seller of the product, right? They can demonstrate, but they can't pitch, right? TikTok doesn't want children pitching products. Minors of any kind, 18 or younger. Okay. So that's really critical to understand. So you could do category to category, click through, see if this, person is a parent of any kind. That's kind of primary. Then we want to look at their audience. Like, are they, is it primarily women of a certain age? We can't click through and see like, hey, are your followers mothers? Like there's probably not. But if they are good at selling toys, they probably have quite a few moms, that are following them, looking for toys for their kids, right? So that's kind of what we're looking for. That's a strategy. But it's kind of taking responsibility as a seller and making sure that the creators you are recruiting are a channel for you to reach your ICP. If you're just doing a spray and pray method of being like, okay, well, their minimum GMV has to be this, and go. And I work with so many creators, and their inboxes are a spam fest of just random crap, right? And so you are going to have a really hard time of finding and working with anybody of quality when you're employing similar kind of ideals and messages, and having that same kind of strategy. Another strategy you can do, and you shared this before, this is something that like I discovered early on, is that you can identify your competitors' creators, and you can recruit your competitors' creators. Now, I will say that the best creators for those competitors are probably going to be loyal to the brand that helped them to be successful, right? And so recruiting them is not necessarily like, it feels like a shortcut, but is it? Are you going to have to create more work for yourself in the long term, to try to convince them to work with you? They'll probably just ignore you and not give you the time of the day in the first place. So what I like to do is, once again, thinking about my ICP and what they're trying to accomplish, is doing category adjacent or product adjacent, ICP adjacent, products. So instead of searching for other phonics flashcards, I'm searching for, okay, well, the motivation of this mom is to educate her children. So what are some other products that she might be buying that help her do so? Maybe it's Montessori toys. Maybe it's sensory toys. Maybe it's, other types of products that, meet those needs in some way. And then I'm recruiting those creators because they've already had some success in selling some Montessori toys to moms who want to help educate their young children. Great. Awesome. Here's some phonics flashcards. It's a really complementary fit, right? So that's kind of like a secret hack for, not just stealing your competition, but look for complementary products, not competing products, right? From recruiting creators. And then we really can't just trust creators to be creative. Truly, honestly. Like, I am a huge fan of doing the heavy lifting for them on how to sell our products. So you mentioned, like, how do I find creators who are going to come up with good hooks? And I'm like, you don't. You don't. You, as the seller, come up with the good hooks. Well, Michelle, I'm not creative. I don't know how to do that. Okay, cool. Well, there's lots of tools to help you do that. ChatGPT is a great one to start with. But take your competitors' products, take products that are out there, take, trending hooks that are going on out there. And that's what you build into your creative brief, is how best to show and demonstrate your product, right? How are your competitors showing and demonstrating your products? We just did this at an event a few weeks ago where we looked up somebody's competition live. We used Yuka to do it. And we looked at their top performing videos, and Yuka pulls the script and it identifies the hooks and all those great things. I love that. It makes life really easy from a creative brief creation standpoint. And I said, have you ever tried these hooks in any of your videos? And the seller was like, no. I'm like, well, these are the top selling products for your, or top selling hooks for your competition. You should probably try it, like educate and put this into your creator, your creative briefs, both that you're maybe trying as a brand as well as that, you're empowering those creators. And too many people are like, well, aren't the creators creative? Like, can't they come up with these things? And I'm like, sometimes they are, and sometimes they'll go rogue, but more often than not, these creators have stacks and stacks of samples that they need to get through because TikTok is holding them accountable. They have a timer, for every single sample that they have. They have 12 to 14 days to create a video for each of those samples. And a lot of these people, this is a side hustle for them. So they might have a Saturday afternoon where they're creating all of their content, and you expect them to do a deep dive on your product. No, they're just unboxing and going, right? If they're a creator worth their crap, then maybe they'll think about it a little bit, but most of the time they're just going to go. So you want to make it really easy for them to do a good job. And that's you giving them a creative brief with some ideas. I'm not talking about like some long thing, very short, succinct, to the point. Here's some hooks. Here's the key features to call out, the key benefits to call out. Say this, don't say that. Especially if you're in a supplement space or anything that's very sensitive to claim making, like be really careful there. And then give them example videos to mirror, right? Show them the videos that are converting for other people and use those. And you really empower them to create that content and not just rely on them to be creative.
Love it. I think those are good words of wisdom. All right, Michelle, as we're wrapping things up here today, final question I want to ask you here is I'm very opinionated on this, but would love to get your take on it. Would you recommend a new seller uses an agency or just does it themselves?
Oh, well, I have an opinion here because I have both an agency and I have educational programs. So I'm very I actually really think it's critical that sellers, business owners understand strategy. This is a new platform. There's tedious things like creator outreach and follow up and fulfillment, all of those types of things that can be outsourced. But I really think it's critical that you, as the owner, understand the core strategy as it relates to your business, because this is very different than selling on any other platform. And so if you're going to roll in and just pick some agency out of the air to, help you launch, it's really easy to blame them when and if things don't happen the way that you have expectation that it'll happen. But the reality is that, as with any scenario, whether it's your team members that are doing this or an agency that's doing it, strategy is key to success. And if you're getting garbage results, it's likely because you have a garbage strategy in the first place. And you don't know what you don't know as a seller. And there's so much information that's thrown at you by TikTok and TikTok Shop. Like, it's second you sign up on TikTok Shop, the inundation of emails begins. It's very difficult to sort through what is actually actionable in that content that's sent to you. So I feel like as sellers, it's really critical that you learn the strategies and the core things that actually move the needle. And then you can outsource the stuff that is the very kind of tactical, what I call the core workflows of TikTok Shop. Understand the strategies of those core workflows and then outsource them as to experts in each of those kind of core areas.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the biggest mistake people make is they just try to go with an agency because they're like, I don't want to figure this out. Somebody else will figure this out. And then when it doesn't happen, you don't understand why it's not working. Right. And sometimes a lot of those agencies, at least my opinion, is most agencies out there, I would say, are not going to do yourself the justice because they're picking up everybody, right? Maybe if you have a very targeted agency that knows your space, maybe I would have a little bit more confidence in that. But I see people or agencies that are yeah, I'll pick up a beauty brand, then I'll pick up a supplement brand, then a toy brand, and then we're all sharing creators. And I look at that and I'm like, that's the biggest mistake ever. Because those ICPs, as you talked about, they're so different that you can't really be double dipping on those same creators. TikTok is also trying to like silo in creators into certain categories now as well. So I think like all that's blowing up. But I love what you recommended, which is like you've got to come in with a strategy. And just like my favorite analogy is this. To those that got started on Amazon, did you first hire an agency to get success on Amazon? I think 100% of you would say no, right? But then now you look at TikTok Shop and you're saying, hey, well, maybe on TikTok Shop, I'll just hire an agency. They'll help me get to $1 million in sales. Then I'll take it over, right? And I'd say like, it's all backwards. You've got to go figure out that marketplace. You've got to figure out your unique strategy, how you're going to angle yourself into that market. And again, I loved your checklist, your 5-step checklist of like, hey, do you actually have a product that works here for this marketplace to even begin with? Right. And so I think like business owners truly do need to like take the time to go in and actually understand what is going to be my strategy for TikTok Shop. There's enough content out there. There's experts like you that are putting out a lot of education. Go pay to have a consultant just like Michelle give you the strategy for your brand. Go pay her for it and then go implement it. So that's my 2 cents. But
I like your 2 cents, Josh. I will also say I am so anti FOMO. And there's so much FOMO around TikTok Shop, right? Everybody's just like, oh my gosh, I got to get on the platform. And I will be the first one to tell a seller no from a place of honesty where I'm like, no, your product is not right for the platform. I'm sorry, your product is not right for the platform. Like and they'll fight me and they'll still do it and they'll learn for themselves. But like the future, and I will say this, I will just plant a seed because we're gonna come back and have another conversation about product launching and product development just for TikTok Shop, because that really is the future of product launching. Because there's just so much opportunity for like quickness to market, quickness for testing, opportunity, and gosh, if you can create demand on TikTok, that halo effect for just using Amazon as a checkout mechanism, using your D2C just as a net to capture the rest of those sales, like all day long, So that's really kind of the future of product launching and product development is TikTok first, and other channels to capture sales afterwards. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. We will tease it for future opportunities, future messages.
Part two coming soon. All right, Michelle, as we leave the audience, I love to leave them with 3 actionable takeaways from every episode. So here are the 3 actionable takeaways that I noted. You let me know if I'm missing something. Number 1, as you get onto TikTok Shop, you need to make sure that you first have a product or product category that is TikTokable, so to speak. Michelle gave 5 a 5-point checklist. So number 1, is it demonstrable? Does it have unique features? Number 2. Number 3, does it have a passionate niche behind it? Number 4, does it actually solve a problem? And then number 5, is it within that impulse buy purchase range, which is $30 to $50 or even below that? So those are your 5 quick checklist items to say like, hey, can I go through and say check, 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 check? If you can, all right, now we're in the game. We can say, hey, maybe it does make sense for me to be on TikTok Shop. But that's action item number 1, is to first make sure that your product meets that actual market demand. So action item number 2, I would recommend going in with a tailored strategy just for your brand. And what's been fascinating is we've had multiple experts on the podcast, and I myself have talked to many people that are on TikTok Shop. What's very interesting is everybody has a different strategy. There are brands that are doing really, really well with their own content. Yeah. And they don't use a lot of affiliates. There are brands that are doing really well with live videos and don't use a lot of affiliates. There are brands that have affiliates that just push live videos, and that's it. There are brands that just exclusively use affiliates, and that's all. And so there's no one size fits all. However, it is important to understand the game on TikTok Shop. So my recommendation for strategy for action item number 2 is to actually create your strategy and approach to the market. Now, the good news is you're probably going to be wrong on the outset, but you are going to be able to quickly pivot and just follow where the money leads you, because you're going to see like, oh, it seems like these affiliates are starting to do well, or hey, my own content is starting to do well. So the first and foremost, go in with an actual strategy and then pivot as you go.
And then test. That's what marketing is, truly. Marketing is just like an art-based science, in the sense that we're making our best educated guess at the beginning, and then we're testing, and then we're iterating, right? That's all marketing is an iterative process. And I know that you've experienced this, Josh. I've experienced this, where the product we thought was going to be the winner is not. It's something else that starts to catch fire and build momentum. And sometimes it's coming from, over and over again, videos that you would probably not expect, that you had if you were to create videos from scratch, that you'd be like, I would not have done it that way. And yet here we are, and I will not argue with money. I will not, So sometimes we have these ideals, and especially if we're coming from an Instagram style aspirational content, that does not work on TikTok. So that high production style, content. Sometimes somebody that looks like they just fell out of bed, that is your best performing affiliate. Truly.
Yeah, I love that. Well said there. My third and final action item is definitely on the merchandising aspect, right? So as Michelle pointed out, once you have your strategy set up, make sure that you're not just like copying and pasting your Amazon listings over to TikTok shop and being like, well, this is good enough, right? But actually go in with only a few dedicated SKUs that you're going to be pushing. Make sure that you have variations set up so that they're sharing reviews, they're sharing sales with each other. Make sure that you have flash sales that are scheduled. Make sure that you have coupons, the free shipping enabled. Make sure that your merchandising is set up first and foremost, so that it is as easy to convert when your affiliates start creating videos. So if people follow these kind of like 3 action items to just get going, this will give you a decent foundation to start with. And, we'll have a part 2 where we'll get into some product launch and scaling features here on TikTok Shop.
Yeah. More money, more problems. That's for sure on the platform. But the core workflows of optimizing your listings, playing around with your pricing, running promotions, running campaigns, running coupons, those things never stop, right? And, that content engine, you guys can't be rolling in being like, oh, I sent out, a handful of samples, and why isn't it working for me? It's like, oh, we need to have a chat, right, about creating content and then running ads to that content. Ads never stop either. It used to be that we just ran ads on top performing content. Now it's like the Facebook ad style of like, no, you're a business. This is a business, this is a business piece of content, and TikTok, organic reach just isn't what it used to be. And you have to put dollars behind every single shoppable post, for sure. So these things never stop.
Love it. Well said. Michelle, final 3 questions that I ask every guest. So number 1, what's been the most influential book that you've read and why?
I am at my core a person that believes that like integrity is really critical and really important to me, having values. I'm a person of faith, and I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so for me, having a relationship with my Savior Jesus Christ is the most important thing. It's my foundation. It's who I am as a person. It's what I've built my life in and around. Anything that I do professionally, I do so from a place of service. My goal isn't sometimes to make money. My goal is to serve, my Heavenly Father's children. And so the book that has helped me come closer to my Savior is the Book of Mormon. And I'll add to that the Bible as well, because they both testify of Christ.
I love it. Well said. And I would agree with your recommendation there. That's definitely one of the most influential books that's influenced me, and would agree that for me, like, if you can get your spiritual standing in your foundation there, I think everything else just dominoes from that. So love that. All right, question number 2. What has been the most influential, or I guess your favorite AI tool that you've been using, and how have you been using it?
So I kind of like the core AI tools. I use ChatGPT a lot. You know, I'm trying to understand like whether I'm building creative briefs, building content, analyzing content. I like the GPT options that are built into those. There's also a lot of AI tools. Sora is, you know, a growing AI video platform. We need to be very careful in how we use AI content for TikTok Shop. But it is, you know, from a content development standpoint, it's a little wild. As a mother, I'm terrified of it. As a marketer, I love it. Right? Like this is the world my children are walking into, and I'm a little like, oh my gosh, they don't stand a chance. What's real? What's not real? But from a content creation for marketing purposes, is a great place to use and develop content, test hooks, and see what's converting, what's not converting.
Love it. Great ideas. All right, third and final question. Who is somebody that you admire or respect the most in the e-commerce space that other people would be following, and why?
Oh my goodness. I love so many people in this space. They're so knowledgeable. They you know, they're heart driven in the amount of content that they either collate and send out for other people. I love Kevin King for those reasons. He's great. He brings so many just experts to the table and helps to share and disseminate that information. One of my besties, two of my besties, Vanessa Hung, Janelle Page, like they're just chef's kiss. They're brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. But they're also super, they help to translate really complex things into actionable content. And I love both of those ladies so much.
Awesome. Fantastic recommendations as well. Well, Michelle, if people do want to reach out to you, they want to get some consulting from you, they want your agency help, how can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we offer free opportunity audits, and we will tell you to your face if your baby is ugly. But no, truly, like it's my goal to help release sellers from the FOMO as quickly as possible. So I highly recommend that you go to our website, ttshopsellers.co, and sign up for a free opportunity audit. And you can hear about our services, both our educational offers, as well as if you're a good fit for any of our agency solutions as well.
Awesome. Well, Michelle, it's been a pleasure having you on the show and looking forward to part 2.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for listening. Visit ecommbreakthrough.com for more information. If you've enjoyed today's episode, the best way you can show your appreciation is by clicking the subscribe button and quickly leaving a review. See you again next time.